Okay, welcome everyone. We are here at the Whitman Finance Committee meeting. Today is Tuesday, February 6th. We're on the second floor of Town Hall. Roll call, we have Al Cafferty, we have Chuck Colby, we have Kathleen Otina, Mike Warner, and myself. And then, looking at the agenda for tonight's meeting, we have minutes from last week that we're going to table. Reserve fund stands at $35,000. Public forum. Anybody want to talk about anything that's not on the agenda? No? Okay. So we'll do our old business, for new business, we have a budget meeting with the Whitman-Hanson Regional School District. And then other business, we have one communication. Town administrator will not be in the meeting because they are meeting with the Board of Selectmen tonight. And then at the bottom there's some updates on the upcoming meetings. So with that, what we'll do is we're going to get right into our new business budget meeting with the Whitman-Hanson Regional School District. For those following along on the Article 2, the Whitman-Hanson Regional School District is Department number 21, and they're located on page 5 of the 9-page Article 2. And we will go around the board, Jeff, and introduce, just so you know, our new member.
Mike Warner. Pleasure to meet you.
Kathleen Otina.
Al Caffrey, like Jeff.
Chuck Colby.
Okay, and also with us, Jeff, you have Fred Small.
And Stephen Boyce.
Stephen Boyce, welcome. Thank you very much for
support.
And welcome to Mr. Warner. Didn't meet you, but I had seen you at town meeting up at the table, so I knew they threw you right into the fire as soon as as soon as they got you. So thanks for being a part of this.
He fits right in. All right, so with that, Jeff, I'll let you take off onto your presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a couple of things before I get into the presentation. I just wanted to formally thank the Whitman Finance Committee for supporting the building project that was 6 years in the making. When I heard that the Finance Committee was behind us, I felt very positive that the taxpayers in Whitman would support our building project, which was successful, and we're in the process with a opening date of September of 27. So we started this in 18. It's a 9-year process. So when I'm long gone, you're going to be looking at more buildings. Just know that it's a 9-year process before you can actually open a building. I did not know that. I thought it was about 5, but things happen. Secondly, the presentation you have today is very abridged. My formal presentation to the school committee is tomorrow night. So I would ask that next year, I looked at the calendar, I think the second week of February 12th would be the ideal date, or 11th would be the date that I would request. The formal presentation would be the week before. I'd like to give you guys that as well, the members of the committee, and then have a week to digest what you might have seen on TV and then ask them questions. So tonight you have an abridged version of this. So good evening, and thank you for having me here. I think this is my 5th year here. I think this is a very nice opportunity for me to talk to you a little informally and, tell you where we're at.
And just so you know, too, we are posted for tomorrow, and you'll probably see a quorum of Finance Committee members at your meeting. So
you're going to get a little tonight,
yep,
and then you're going to get everything. What I did also was all the documents that are presented tomorrow are online tonight. If you want to review them, if you got nothing else to do tonight, there's 47 pages. Miss Otina, I sent them to Kathy yesterday as a member of the Finance Committee, but our liaison, I want to give her that opportunity to be a little bit more abreast than most folks. So we all know this is a challenging time of year, as all departments are advocating for their departments and their employees. I'm taking a risk here, but I think that all department heads want a budget that will support their department while providing the best possible services to the community. My budget proposal this year is no different. The Whitman-Hanson Regional School District is committed to providing a high-quality education for all students, and we have seen, read, and heard that students in 2024 are much different than students were in 2019. Academically, socially, students have changed, and we as a district have had to change and modify how we deliver instruction and social support. The use of high-quality instructional materials, one-to-one technology, hardware and software, interventionists, you're going to hear that term, which are staff members, to help all students, social emotional supports, a growing English language learner population that has nothing to do with the migrants coming in. We don't have that issue yet, but this is just our own EL population. And more students receiving special education both in district and out of district has increased our budget over the years, and FY25 is no different. The difference this year is the loss of federal assistance in terms of ESSER 3 to the amount of somewhere around $815,000, which we have incorporated into this budget. This budget reflects what I have in the district this year. We have not added any services or programs. This is truly a level service budget. This is apples to apples. The staff I have in district now are the staff that are represented in the FY25 budget. Except everything as is in the country right now costs quite a bit more. In your packet, you have a few documents. This document is just the table of contents of the budget, so you will be able to see that online tonight, so you'll be able to follow along. I have two other documents or three other documents that are not stapled that I'm going to review for you. And it's a little bit challenging. The reason for the two documents, one document has with Whitman debt, which adds to the budget, but not to the assessment. And the other one is with and without debt. So the first document that you see is dated up top, 1/10/24, is what I gave to the school committee. So the overall budget without the Whitman debt, because that's specifically to the building project, for FY25 is the second line, 1B, $63,325,154, or a net increase of 2.839996, or an increase of 4.7. One of the pieces or goals that we've had as a district is to not necessarily look at the assessment numbers from the towns, but look at an overall budget increase. And in this budget here, that line of 63,325,154 is the budget that I need, and it's a 4.7 increase. If we go down to scenario, and again, if you look down, and I'll look at an FY25 1E, if you voted this, and I wouldn't have to cut anything, the vote would be 19,712,158, or a 1.972653 increase, or 11.12 increase of your assessment. I'm not going to talk about Hanson at this point. Scenario 2 is more along the lines of what was presented, or what Mary Beth had said, as an earmark of 5%. A 2% increase would be an $18,716,702 assessment as of today, or an increase of 977, which is really a 5.51, but that's a 2% increase of my budget. Just to frame, other districts, I've been asking my superintendents, I'm going to talk more to the school committee tomorrow, people are in the 13s right now for what they're being asked. Nobody's below a 3.5. That I've asked. And I have a meeting on Friday to get more information. I know that doesn't mean much, but I want to frame this, that you should be watching your local communities, because they're in the same boat that we are with loss of federal funds in special education and just different contracts being up. If you were so kind to give me a 3% increase of the budget, it's line 3D down below at 17,739,500. Or 19, 17 would be good. Yeah, 9, I can't do that. 19,086,024, or a 7.59% increase. And then a 4% increase down below is 4E, 19,455,346, or a 1.715 increase. And that would be a 9.67. I'm really asking this committee to dig deep and look for more than the 2% increase of my budget, because the other line that is important, at a 2% increase, or that assessment of 5.51, I'm looking at cutting 1.6 million in district, and that's staff. I've already tried to cut costs as best I can, and if you look at line items, we've done like a 1.5% increase on things. 3%, I get 3 from you folks in the town of Hanson, it's $1 million and change. of cuts. If I'm at 4%, it's 420. None of those numbers are great, but the bottom number is more palatable. I can always look, and I told Mary Beth when I met with she and Lisa Green that I would do my best to be as efficient as possible. We are still looking at class sizes and numbers, and the school committee will make a determination on class sizes. I have some that are low, but like I told Mary Beth, I was going to give you a complete level service budget, apples to apples this year, and then we can, as a committee, decide where the towns are at. If you go to that second document, 0224, which is tomorrow's document, this does have that Whitman debt in it. So the budget really goes up from 63,325 to 63,565 or 590, 845. That's going to be the number with the debt, and we have to show that as our general budget. But that has nothing to do with the assessment. So those are the budget numbers that I have for you right now, and that third document that I have actually shows you how that's broken down into the operating assessments over the years, just strictly giving the district a 5%. It's this document right here. Your non-mandated busing is down a couple bucks, $30,000. Mr. Small would say a couple of shekels. But this is where we're at. Chapter 70 and that stapled document that I added to your packet here is Chapter 70 money and allocations in the state, okay? We got $30 a kid, again. We got no SOA money. Members of this committee, members of my committee were saying that we were gonna get a tremendous amount of SOA money. We got nothing.
You see that happening going forward too as well, every year?
Well, the state's broke.
Right, so is the country, you know?
So it's not, palatable.
Right.
We will show, I'll give you a heads up, we dug deeper into, and Kathy, you probably saw this, we dug deeper into hold harmless. We went from 400,000 to 900,000. So we went backwards instead of forwards. So all the projections that we talked about 3 years ago when we said we were going to do a 5-year plan, not so much. But comparatively, I just wanted the Finance Committee to have this document to show where Whitman-Hanson is as far as Chapter 78. We get quite a bit comparatively to our neighbors, to other regionals, per pupil. So again, I've heard the complaints that the region, we still get quite a bit of Chapter 78. It's not helping us. We're getting $30 more kid, and if the legislature comes up with 60 like they did last year, we add another $100,000, which in terms of this budget is beneficial. But I wanted the Finance Committee to have this document as well, so that you could look through and see who wins and who loses in that with Chapter 70. Just a couple of points for this committee that I'll share with the committee tomorrow. ESSER 3 is gone. So this year, it's a total of 16 positions that I've added to the budget. Financially, they were here last year, they were here the year before, to the tune of $818,202, which are 11 paraprofessionals, 1 EL teacher, and 4 Unit A staff. Those are my interventionists, or 4 of them. So it's 818 that are in this budget that necessarily weren't last year. They were under the federal dime. Yes, sir.
That's what I'm saying. These were positions covered through COVID reimbursement programs.
Yeah, over time. Yeah. And we've added them, and one thing in particular, if the committee wants, I can forward the presentation. Students in Whitman-Hanson haven't necessarily regressed, but they haven't progressed. And by putting these interventions in, again, I thank the committees for helping us along the way by adding the staff that we've needed, that have given us high-quality instructional materials in the form of an English curriculum and a math curriculum that we did not have prior to 2018. Since 2001, our kids are progressing. And my assistant superintendent and my director of equity and MTSS did a presentation on how we're moving up. And these interventionists stop regression for kids, all kids, and kids that are doing better, they give them an opportunity to grow. So every period of every day in the elementaries and middle school, next year the high school, there's a block of 30 minutes where kids go to specialties where they learn through the programs and get direct instruction for their areas that are assessed that they're deficient in. So we're growing. and it shows the pattern over 2 years now, we're growing. So these are the folks that we've added, and I think in a beneficial way, to assist us in growth.
Can I just interject,
Yep.
Jeff? Anecdotally, I won't name names because I won't embarrass my grandchildren, but I have 3
Yep.
elementary school and middle school grandchildren who have benefited from the WIN block,
Yes.
what I need.
What I need now.
Whether
Yep.
it's, and they've been diagnosed ahead of time in terms of their deficiencies, if they had any, not that they did, or where they might advance. And I find that, just anecdotally, I'm speaking as a grandparent of 3, that WIN block has been very beneficial because it does give the kids a chance to meet with specialists who can address their specific areas of need. So I think the school department has done a great job in using the funds that the federal government gave the town or the region to address how can we help the kids who've experienced this very unusual pandemic. So I want to applaud the progress that the district has made in addressing the kids' needs. It's good.
And thank you. And my fear is going backwards a little bit,
Yeah.
taking things away. And I know where we're at. The other piece here, and this is the wild card that we didn't have in 20. So just a frame of reference, there are 233 EL students, English language learner students in district today. I have 11 full-time staff for those folks. In 22, in September, we had 78 and 3.5. So we've had to encumber that, and there's no aid assistance, there are no grants for that, we've had to encumber that. And I will say, the majority of the 233 live in the town of Whitman. So it's that piece that we are educating a different student, and by law we have to do that. So, and that's something that's out of our control. In one respect, we are given some more state aid through Chapter 70 for our enrollment. Our enrollment's down a little bit, but not significant to make an impact, but we have risen to 233. When I started as a principal in 2010, there were 4. Okay, there was a part-time EL teacher who taught 3 classes of social studies and 2 classes of EL in district in 2010. So we have grown.
Okay, let me just interrupt 1 second.
Sure.
Just want the recording secretary to understand that Ralph has now joined the meeting. Ralph, welcome. So in that packet, Jeff has gone over some of the documents that he provided. And just a quick note that all of this information is going to be presented tomorrow at the budget meeting that we are posted for as well. So hopefully you'll be able to go and get a little bit more information. And then just when Jeff has concluded, we'll open it up to questions from the committee. But Jeff, just so you know, if there's something that you want to cover tomorrow and don't want to cover tonight,
Sure.
just make sure you let us know.
I will. I have everything for you guys tonight. I'm okay.
Okay.
Yep. Sure.
Quick statement.
Yep.
Convoluting things with the $30 per student is the fact that the state has missed benchmark the past 7 months now. They were $168 million, or somewhere in that range, behind. They've already had 1 round of what they call 9C cuts. They're looking at perhaps by spring cutting the budget again. As a regional school district, when we get funds, that's our only shot at the apple. We can't go back and ask for more money, etc. So, you know, and you guys know how I feel about living between our means and etc. But we also have a very grave situation that where they're talking about cutting back from this year's budget. I don't know what's going to be for the 25 budget coming out of the House and Senate.
Right.
You know, it's a very dire situation in the state. And I just want to, you know, make sure everyone's cognizant of that. I'm sorry, Jeff.
No, that's
I stole your
absolutely
thunder,
fine.
I'm sorry.
And one of the pieces too, and we've lowballed a couple of the reimbursables, like transportation reimbursement. Last year we went high. The business director didn't want to go high. Some members of our committee wanted to go high. And we were short about $250,000 this summer when the budget came out in August. So we had to make some appropriations.
Okay,
Mr. Anderson, let
Bruce,
me just
yeah.
add on to Mr.
Sure.
Small's piece. So the first round of that 9C cuts, the governor did specify it's not going to affect education. But you know that's only that round. And Fred's always had a good eye in here towards what's going on legislatively, you know, whether he's got a news feed or whatever. And it's always good because it helps tandem with Jeff what he has to do. but if that next round, it could be wide open.
Yeah.
You
Right.
never know what it's going to be.
So that's why we lowballed in this budget. Like, I think we put a 70% reimbursable for transportation. Last year was 90. There were a few members of Whitman that said we should be at 90 because it's been tradition, or it's been the past couple of years. So we went with 90 and we came up short. And as you know, the governor's budget came out August 1st. We approved the budget May 2nd, and now I've got $250,000 short. We made it. I cut a couple of paras here, much to the chagrin of some elementary kindergarten parents, but we're still surviving. We can do things. So we went a little low on the reimbursables just because of those things. Just what we're doing for district-wide support for all kids, just so you folks have an idea, we have 3 district-based interventionists. We have a secondary interventionist who covers 6 through 12, math and ELA, so she looks at everything, or he looks at everything. And we have 2 elementary, 1 ELA and 1 math, that really look at all our data and then hit the 12 building-based interventions, reading and math, in the elementaries and middle level, that can give, like Kathy said, one-to-one direct support in areas of weakness or areas that kids aren't hitting benchmark. I have 5 district-wide curriculum coordinators, 4 high school and 1 elementary. I have 1 secondary data specialist who does all of our data for the district that's required by the state. I have 5 BCBAs. A BCBA is a behaviorist, so that when students' behavior is not great, I have a specialist come in, observe that child, and write out something so the teacher's able to handle that student in class with a plan. We had 1 in district when I started here. It's a big goal of mine to make sure our staff can react to behaviors without that child being sent home, or really they opt out for a special education eval, which starts a whole process of funding that child when it's just a simple behavior. We have 7 school psychologists, so we have a psychologist in every area in the district. I'm short 1 right now who never came back from maternity leave, and I'll just tell this committee, there are no school psychologists in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts or the state or the country. We're short all over the place. If you have kids that want to go into, it's a 5-year program. You can make a good chunk of change out of it, but it's a real commitment. I have 10 adjustment counselors in district who service. I have 4 at the high school and 1 at every other building. That's the intermediary. That's not a guidance counselor. They're not academic. They strictly go to social emotional for students. That's a social worker. They have an adjustment counselor. Usually they're an LISW as well. I have a transition room at Hanson Middle School and at the high school for students when they return from any type of social emotional issue, medical issue. They can walk back into a classroom setting slower than just being dropped. At Whitman Middle School, I have a room, it's called the TLC. If a student needs support, they'll go to the TLC. So it's not a transition room, but it's an area. And then we have a partnership this year with an independent firm called Care Solace. Because if you try to get an appointment to see a psychiatrist or psychologist now, it's an 8-month wait. This group has a blanket list all over the South Shore. They will hook you up as best they can with supports right away. It runs me about $15,000 a year. For my parents, it's the best money I've ever spent, because if they need an appointment, within 2 weeks they can get on somebody's calendar. So that's support for all learners. And then just simply tooting the district's horn, which is support from the community, both, and again, thankful for that. Programs that we've added in the last 5 years: a K-5 elementary math and English and science program, a middle school social studies program, ELA and math programs in grades 6 through 8, special education teachers for co-teaching at the middle level, district-wide intervention in ELA and math, WIN blocks now, which will be next year, K-12, elementary class sizes under 21. I think I have 1 of 22, and that's at Conley, and it's graduating to 6th grade next year. 1-to-1 electronic devices. Every kid has a Chromebook. Curriculum, translation services and staff to ELs, meaning I have a translation service for them, especially for the communication with parents. Tuition free full day K. Unified sports at the high school and Best Buddies at the middle school. an enrichment program which is grant funded, but you should hear about it at the high school and now Whitman Middle School. And it's an after-school program from kids from 2:30 to 4 with a bus. They can take all kinds of enrichment activities. And the high school principal has started an innovations pathway in business and science related job or for job experience that a student can go into a health pathway and look to go into the world of health education or the world of health work after high school. What's not in here, we also have a community liaison, Portuguese community liaison, who does a lot of language or translation for us in district. So we've had to add a lot. And again, community support has been great. ESSER, great. I think we use the funds pretty well if we're only coming into, we've gotten over $3 million in 4 years of ESSER, maybe even a little bit more than that. And all I'm asking right now in the budget, because we've been able to funnel some of that stuff into the budgets every year, so it wasn't one large hit like some communities are getting right now. I'm very proud of what my teachers do. We have 3 good contracts right now, which will be up in 25, so I'm going to start negotiating next year. If you're all watching the news, it's going to be difficult. I think our teacher's going to ask for a fair wage. I don't think they're going to be going, I'll use, I think Hingham's on the verge of striking right now. They're looking for like a 666. I know they're going to negotiate. I saw that there. They're looking for something there, but they're on the verge. Our union's not like that. They don't want to, but they want a fair wage. What has impacted the budget too is our paraprofessional wage. We greatly improved that in this last contract. Our paras were averaging about $20,000 a year, and now they're close to 28 to 30. They're working a 7-hour day versus 6, but it added to the budget. But what the MTA is saying, our paras are making a livable wage. So that increased the budget. On my unit A, which are my teachers, took a 2.5 or 2.25, 2.5. So it wasn't crazy. But I have a feeling, and I'll tell the committee this as we go, they're probably going to be looking for more in the next round. So FY26 is going to be even a bigger gulp. But I won't have the one-time loss of funds with ESSER depending on where we are for next year. So that's what I have, just for you to absorb. Again, I'm going to go a little more detail. John will be there to present all the budget documents. And just as an aside, Mr. Sandberg has resigned from his position. His last day will be June 30th. I'm hoping to appoint somebody to the committee with the committee's approval tomorrow afternoon who will start July 1st with maybe a transition sometime in June. An experienced business manager from another school district. So the loss of John, because I think he's very thorough. I think we've prepared a very transparent budget. I've been looking on different districts' websites. I think we have more paper now than anybody else as far as numbers. So if you folks have questions as you digest all this, feel free to give me an email, give me a call, go through Kathy, and I can answer those questions for you. But that's what I'm looking at. The overall is like a 4.7. And I gave you the breakdown of what it is all the way to 2. I will not be able to provide a solid education with a 2% increase. I just won't. That's below where everybody else is in the Commonwealth right now. That's below everybody else's home budgets. They have all gone up a couple bucks. So that's what I'm asking the Finance Committee to look at, to see what they can get to move the Mary Beth's budget around. I don't know. We haven't looked at that yet. I haven't seen it. I just know she earmarked 5%. So.
And just so you know, they are presenting a budget update to the Board of Selectmen tonight, too. So we'll get that information tomorrow. I have asked for the handouts to be emailed, so I'll get them to the committee tomorrow. Okay. So we'll open it up to questions. Like I said, we'll keep it brief. Just on behalf of Rosemary Connolly, who's not here, she's been asking departments about pending legislation that would affect your budget. And I just happened to look, recently there's a bill pending legislation for Para-Education Act, preparing and retaining all. It's a para. And do you have any information about how this would affect your budget?
No, I don't.
Okay.
Until I see the bill, I'll look at it.
Yeah.
I mean, the paraprofessional are valuable to every school district, and that's what you're reading in the papers right now, and we'll see on the news. Paras are underfunded. Our paras are making close to $18, $19 an hour, which if you go to Target, they were hiring at $17.50. So we've done a little better. we have 4 levels of para. We have A, B, C, or 1, 2, 3, 4. Our 4s are making $28 an hour. They require some more specialty training. They're working with my autistic students, and they're also working with my students that sometimes have behavioral issues, and especially my preschool students changing diapers and things like that. So they're at the top. My instructional paras, classroom paras are making level 1 and it gradually goes up. But we got them up to as they thought was a fair wage, and they're making a little bit more money. This is what you're seeing around areas, around other districts. But I think the legislature is looking at infusing some things. The challenge I have with the legislature is whenever they force it in somewhere,
They don't include the budget.
there's no funding behind it.
Yeah, right.
You know, it's
Unfunded
another
liability.
underfunded mandate,
Yeah,
right?
right. I
You
hear
know,
you.
and we've gotten away from those a little bit.
Yeah.
And because I talked about that in 2018, 2019, about the unfunded mandates, I'm not seeing that as much, but you're seeing the early literacy piece that the governor just talked about. Nervous about that. You know, I've heard of free preschool. I'm not close to that yet. And now when they start talking about doing some other things on the backs of the district, which then, or the towns, it comes back to where are we going to fund this?
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
I'm all about paraeducation, and we can pay for them, but I don't want that to happen without a funding source.
Absolutely.
You know.
Okay, go ahead, Mr.
Anderson,
Boyce.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry to interrupt again. I worked on the Paris contract, and that was just this past spring. And I used to be considered a para at Indian Head in Duval when I was volunteering in the district on my Fridays off and so forth. But I know this group, and I've even had them down the Indian Head School in the computer lab when we had it there, and teaching them any of the new softwares and so forth. So I know they're a great group, quick studies, you know, they're across the board though. Their age range is whatever. You know, it's the same as any other profession or anything. I did have to get my hip fixed when they threw me at the wall for my first proposal. No, I'm only kidding. But they were. They were a
Yeah.
very good group. It did take us a little while because the organization of, as Jeff mentioned, those 4 groups was critical. You know, if you want to do this part of the job, this is the group you're in. And it made sense.
Yeah, right, yeah.
And just for this finance committee as well, just have a general, and I've talked to the committee about it. Hiring people is very difficult.
Oh, yeah.
Just as an example, I had a long-term English high school position open. 10 years ago, 5 years ago, 50 people applying for it. 2. That's it. Now, when it's a full-time position, I get more. But this is a long-term sub. Our long-term sub rate by contract is supposed to be about $150 a day. Nobody's working 6 hours a day for $150 with kids. So we've modified to I look at the teacher's contract, and I bring that teacher in. He's going to be teaching step 1, which is about $49,000 or $282 a day. I've been able to secure somebody. But that being said, the days of being able to say, hey, I want to come teach kids and I'll make $60 a day isn't there. Substitute teachers are not coming in at $80 a day, which increases everything else as we go, as salaries go. And it's just becoming more and more. And I had this conversation with Mary Beth about she's looking for an accountant, and you know, you're going to have to pay up. I'm looking for a new business director. I have to pay up. People aren't coming in at, hey, I just need there are plenty of jobs out there for people to be very selective. And I think that gets lost on, you know, Joe Taxpayer out there who's like, oh, anybody will take that. Well, I'll go in and do it. Well, I don't want just anybody to teach kids. I need to have a certification, some experience maybe, and for a position like Mr. Stanbrooks, I need somebody who actually can do numbers and not make a huge mistake that could, a decimal point in the wrong spot could be cataclysmic.
I think we
for
all
everybody.
know the dangers of
Yeah.
having the wrong
Yeah.
person
You know,
in that position.
right.
Correct, and we've experienced that. So just as that's transparent, that's honest, I'm trying to get people in, and it's very difficult. I had to search out the English teacher. Like, I didn't have applicants. Teacher in my wife's district was long-term, the maternity was over. I literally had my department head call him and say, do you want to come in for an interview? And he's like, well, who are you? It's like, well, my superintendent's wife teaches in the math department, and she said you're pretty good, so come on in. That's what I'm doing to get a teacher. So it's not easy right now, and I know it's not easy around the area, but it's a lot about the dollars, and if we can secure this, we're in a better shape. So just letting you know, my pitch, I gave you where those options are. The committee will make that decision on the assessment. We'll have those conversations. The one thing, Mary Beth, myself, and Beth Stafford said, we don't want to be around the table in April like we were last year,
Yeah,
trying to figure
we don't
this
wanna
out,
do that again.
okay? That was not pleasant, that was not nice, it wasn't great, and it didn't serve anybody well. So I'll be as upfront with the committee, and we'll go from there, and as long as I can, work around with some decent numbers, we can do what we have. Obviously, I'd love to get exact, I know that's a high number for the town.
Sorry. All right, any other questions, Michael?
So, I was a teacher.
Yep.
Brockton,
Yep.
Braintree. And
You're hired.
Yeah,
What do you need?
You got an art teacher opening?
I did, I just hired one.
Computer science? It's, so I understand, I understand the piece. I am been watching, I think, as all of us, the news, and one of the things that I was distressed to see was that, I can't remember which town it is now thinking that in order to make their budget for the
Haverhill.
town, it's Haverhill, yeah.
I saw that too.
They're like, even though we just negotiated the whole thing, we may have to go back and lay off 30 teachers. So I think that's something we need to be very, very realistic about is we can pass any budget we want, but if at the end we can't pay for it, it's going to mean bodies, because that's where we're at right now. It's not like we can sell chalk or paper on the side, but it's going to be people. So that's one point. And then the other was, we have a lot of schools in Boston that turn out teachers. Do we have any relationships with them, with their hiring processes? Because I used to do that in the industry side, but I haven't done it with the teaching side.
So our relationships are more with Stonehill and Bridgewater State locally.
Okay.
And some Boston, but the Boston schools don't necessarily travel south.
Yeah, I mean,
It's
Northeastern's a big one.
Yeah.
That's you've got people that are still living down here, but
Yeah.
you can take the Purple Line in to go to NEU.
Right. I mean, and again, our relationship is there. My concern right now is even the students that are in the programs. It's lacking. But yeah, I can look at different things more north. I mean, I look at the privates and the publics in town, and if they want to come down, we solicit quite a bit. We do 2 job fairs a year. Last year, there were less students at those job fairs than I've ever seen. And it's not necessarily, we don't pay a bad salary. We're right in the middle of where we're at. So that's what I sell. And, one of the things that we talk about is we haven't had layoffs in a few years, and people seem pretty secure with that. I was able to grab a couple of folks from Brockton last year when the pink slips went out, and they came back in and they're pretty happy. What I don't want to do is pink slip those folks this year, So I think if I could pick your brain about that relationship with the city schools, I'd be more than happy to do so. We've also worked with again, my director of MTSS and equity. We're working with we have a consultant that is trying to have us bring in more folks with a diverse background for teaching, because our communities are becoming much more diverse. I need people who look like kids that say, I want somebody to be in my building that looks like me. And that's EL, that's of color, that's of gender, that's of sexual orientation. So we're trying to do that as well. And I just need a pool right now to see where we're at, and we're at a puddle. So I would pick your brain.
Sure. Anytime.
Okay, anybody else?
Just one piece of information that I would like, Jeff, and I don't believe it's in the documents, is the class size enrollment.
It's my presentation tomorrow.
Okay,
So it's in the presentation. I didn't do a document.
okay.
It's in the PowerPoint.
And is that online, or it will be?
Yeah, it will be. Yeah, that's right. It should be now.
Okay.
So just talking from the town side, looking at the Article 2 that was presented at our joint meeting with the Board of Selectmen, the town administrator, as you mentioned, was recommending and is pretty adamant about a 5%. The number that she presented in this budget was 18,626,475, which is in line with your 18,716,702 at 5.51%. So I think it's just important that we recognize that we've met with all town departments. Now we've met with the school department. We're not getting the commitment that all town departments are supposed to be making with respect to those percentages. So if we're being told by the town administrator that we're holding the line at 5%, we must also be looking at these other departments who've been coming in with budgets that are exceeding 20 and 30%. So just so you know, our mission here is for an equal distribution of the limited resources of the town. So, and we're not holding fast, and I think I speak for the whole committee, at starting and ending at 5%. So I think, that's why we're posted for tomorrow night's meeting, so we can get the information and make recommendations to the taxpayers based on all of the information from all the departments.
Appreciate that, and I appreciate that candor as well, because that's why I gave you the where I'm at level, and I gave you some options.
Let's break down.
What that's going to look like for me, because I have also heard that people are all over the map, and what they're asks for, and the response I usually get is, well, you're the biggest, so you have to be the lowest because you cost the most. So that's that. I like the equitable piece of it a little bit,
Yeah.
because I employ 450 people, and I have 500 students that I'm responsible for, and I can't rely on the state. The challenge is on the town, and the state goes up by $30 or $100,000 a year, but my expenses go here, so it's not an equitable disbursement of funds. So
Yep.
There's some prioritization that has to be looked at. Right?
So-
It's just the nature of where we are financially, and it's not just us, it's everybody.
yeah,
that's facing this
and
issue.
again, I will share with the committee what I know tomorrow of my peers. And Friday I have a meeting, a Java-like meeting with the superintendents on the South Shore. We are going to discuss it, of SOA. So just for instance, my buddy Joe in Stoughton is looking for a 7% increase on top of the 2.9 that he got in SOA money. But he's also got a 400 ELs, and he's got migrants in his community, and he's responsible. And it's, but some of my other smaller communities used their ESSER money and now are looking for 13s and 14s. And so I was shocked. I thought, 5% I'm up, but my peers are saying that, this is where we're at. Town of Hingham, they did an override, so she's locked in at 3.5. So, but she's locked in. That's a guarantee for her. Her budget's going to go up 3%, 3.5. But they signed an actual MOU, so she's locked in. I don't ever want to be locked in like that because something horrific could happen. But just so you guys have an idea, and I will update the committee through our meetings. Our next meeting after tonight is the 28th. I'm sure we're talking budget. The documents will show tomorrow our budget timeline, what we have. I'm not unhappy of where we are with per pupil expenditures. We're up. We're in a better spot than we've ever been. So I don't want to complain. I don't want to be that person. But this is what I need to keep as is, and the costs are not diminishing. Our enrollment's not going down as much. I think I can be a little more efficient when I look at it, but the committee's going to have to direct me to what they want for class size. We've complained about class size for years. Now we're there. That might not be financially sustainable anymore. I'm not sure. So just fully honest with you folks that I'm willing to look for it, and as long as it's an equitable distribution of funds in both communities, I'm a happy guy, But I don't like the inequity sometimes, or the finger pointing. It's hard because I think we work hard for our kids and for the community.
And I think from this committee, I think I speak with the whole committee when I ask Mr. Small and all the members of the school committee to know that we support the work that you do as well. So I like to think that it's definitely part of a team. So. With that, if we have more questions, we're going to funnel them through our liaisons here.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. And Kathy does a great job. And again, thanks for that support on the building project.
Nice
Much appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you for the
Thanks for on
info.
the
You still volunteering?
One of the most important statements, stay warm.
Yeah.
Yes. As a pleasure as always.
I'll leave a copy of the full budget on your windshield.
All right, thank you so much.
The door's open, just
See
put
you,
it
gentlemen.
inside.
Oh, Ralph, I knew you came in late, but good to see you. Thanks.
See ya. All right, well, it was a good exchange of information, I think, for a preliminary budget.
Yeah, it was good info.
Did you happen to see anything in the packet that you want to throw out there?
Not really. I will share with the committee after I've done the deep dive, but he already answered some of my questions. Where are the ESSA 3 positions coming from. I thought I found them, and he absolutely identified. I said, I think this is where they are, and they are. They're exactly where he said they were. Interventionists that are at the secondary level and at the elementary and middle school level. And so it's a, can't say it's a transparent budget. It's a $63 million budget, but the pieces of the puzzle make sense to me, and I will do like I did last year, email him a list of questions, so if anybody has specific questions, let me know. And he's really good about getting back to me.
Yeah, so I think tomorrow night, anybody that goes to the full presentation can then probably formulate some questions, email Kathy, or bring them to our next meeting the following week, because the next meeting is relatively short as well. We have just the boards coming in, planning board, and I think the historical commission.
Conservation.
I don't think Conservation Commission's coming, so we only have 2 small board meetings, and they'll be very brief, and then we'll have probably a couple meeting minutes to do. So we'll have a little more time to maybe delve into this school budget a little bit more, so.
And I'll pick apart the way I did last year. This is my analysis of where things went up and why, so that you don't have to spend your countless hours.
And then we'll also have the information that's coming out of,
Positions. It really is.
yeah, the budget presentation that's going before the selectmen tonight, so that paperwork will be submitted to everybody tomorrow online too.
So,
I don't know what's being presented, I
yeah,
have
I
no
was
idea.
gonna say, yeah, is it an updated version of, who knows?
Yeah, I have no idea. So we'll get that tomorrow, and then obviously when it comes up on YouTube, you can watch the Board of Selectmen meeting for more information. So we'll go back to the agenda then. If anybody has any other questions they want to ask regarding the district budget presentation. So subcommittee reports. Kathleen, anything from any of the subcommittees that you're
The
on?
RAC meets next Monday. I will take fiscal 25 transportation and send Chris Scriven, who's the chair of the RAC. This is what the cost to the town is this year. That should be in Hanson's budget, not ours. So I will keep after the transportation. That's next Monday. Capital Committee.
Well, we are starting to get dribbles of capital requests in.
That's not how it should happen.
I know. So just, again, we're still going to be looking for the capital committee for a presentation at the end of this
The
month.
27th, and
Yeah.
I told Dawn, and we are meeting the 22nd so that we will have a presentation for
Okay.
the Finance Committee.
Excellent. Middle school, do they meet?
We meet in 2 weeks.
Okay, and then the Public Works Department Building Committee has not met. We'll be meeting again next week. So nothing to report out of the audit. Reserve fund transfer for the DPW, we held it over, and as it turned out, there is money in the project budget for relocation. So they're going to utilize money that's within that budget. And he really didn't have a lot of costs. I guess they were waiting for a bill from Getchell for the plumbing that they have to do to get, to get the building ready for the DPW to occupy. So it's less than 20,000, I think, for everything. So they wouldn't have got much more out of a reserve fund transfer anyway. So that's off the table now. So we won't see that again. Anybody have anything else they want to talk about under fiscal 25 budget? Like I said, we still have a couple more departments to go through. We still have as we said, the capital committee to look at. And then, we have at the bottom of the page, you see the rest of the meetings that we have to start making recommendations.
The only question I have is, with Mary Beth presenting something to the Board of Selectmen tonight, does she have an updated, fiscal 25 tax rate recap? We've done it in the past.
Yep, I'm sure that's probably part of it. I'm sure they also have a new Article 2 they're probably presenting. She also mentioned tonight, when I went in there before this meeting, that they were having a department meeting too. So she's going to get the departments to have another hard look at the numbers that they presented and submitted with their budgets as an opportunity to, make some changes here. We're far away from a balanced budget.
Yeah. That was my question to Kathy, might have been, because she keeps good track of everything, was how much are we really
Oh, we're
off?
well
We're
over a
north of a
million, not
million,
counting the
yeah.
2 schools, not
Yeah,
counting the
not even
VOTEC.
at that point.
Well, a million,
Well, then throw in all the capital requests we're starting to see too.
but those don't go into Article 2.
I
That's-
understand,
Yeah.
but it's just from a total
I know, I
budget
agree.
perspective, it's,
Yeah.
Points, good point.
Okay, anything else? Communications, we have one communication from the clerk's office just in regard to the Attorney General approving the general bylaw adopted at the special town meeting. The right to farm bylaw has now been approved by the
So I guess that means,
Attorney General's office.
so I guess that means Hornstra Farms would bring cows back.
Let the cows come home.
That's it.
So that's the only communication we have, and town minister updates, obviously, they're in a meeting tonight, so. Upcoming meetings, there are the list there. Again, March 5th is primary election day, and May 6th will be the annual town meeting, so. In order to make plans. All right, does anybody have anything they wanted to bring up on to go to the order? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make that motion.
Second.
All in favor? All right,
Unanimous.
Wow.
look at that. Yeah, we're.